What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we got another requested video and another freaking Wilt video. God dang. It is why Wilt Chamberlain is the greatest ever. Don't know if I can fully agree with that, but that's alright. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna get on into it. And yeah. Kobe. Ballin' like Curry. Curry! I called it. Dang. Knockdown. Johnny Internet.
Let me tell you something. For a while, they were saying that I was the greatest. And before me, it was Magic who is the greatest, and then it's Michael's turn. But open up the record book and it will be obvious who the greatest is. Wilton Norman Chamberlain.
Okay, buddy.
I'm starting off my GOAT series with arguably the most dominant player in the league's history. Wilt was so astonishing that he had Larry Bird believing that he was the greatest, and by the end of this video, you might be convinced of it too. Just like the great Larry Bird mentioned, to see Wilt's dominance, you don't have to look any further than the NBA record book. Wilt has a total of 67 individual NBA records.
How many?
No other player comes remotely close to that total.
67?
Take a look at some of the list here that includes the most points in a game,
dang!
most points per game for a season,
67?
and so on. Also consider the fact that block shots were not a statistic when Wilt played, which was something that he was arguably the greatest ever.
Yeah, that's true.
And which we'll touch
I
on
heard that he
later.
was good at blocking.
If blocks
Alright, but for the 15-second ad real quick, go check out my TikTok at YTJ Cooper. Go check out the main channel. Go, check all that out. Add 15 subscribers on this channel and 30 at the main channel. We're gonna open up an Instagram, so go check that out. Once again, TikTok at YTJ Cooper.
had been factored in, Wilt's list of records would have been undeniably much longer. The list just doesn't stop. I don't have enough time in this video to go over every single record and every single incredible athletic achievement of Wilt Chamberlain.
He just posted.
They're just seemingly endless. Here's the question, though, that sparks many debates about Wilt's legacy. Why is it that he achieved all those records that no other player can even touch?
Yeah, that's actually true.
Personally, I believe it was a combination of several things. First and foremost, as far as abilities are concerned, Wilt was arguably the greatest athlete in human history.
Yeah, he was athletic. We've seen that, bro.
The man stood 7'1" tall with a 7'8" wingspan.
We've seen that.
He had a 40+ inch vertical leap that some speculate got as high as 50 inches.
Dang.
He was a high jump champion at college. He was a long jump athlete, and he had insane speed.
Yeah, we've seen that clip before.
Ran a 40-yard dash in 4.6
Dang, boy!
According to
that boy's gone!
Wilt was apparently barefoot in that sprint.
Dang!
To put that in perspective, LeBron James ran a 4.6 in 2012, which was the prime of his career. LeBron also wasn't barefoot in that sprint. At an event, Wilt and Jim Brown challenged each other to a foot race.
Boink.
For those who don't know, Jim Brown is considered by many as the greatest
Jim
running
Brown
back
is.
in
Come on,
NFL
boy.
history. His job in the NFL was to run with the football, and he was the best to ever do it. According to eyewitnesses,
Wilt
Chamberlain beat him
the
comfortably in a foot race. Jim Brown, obviously frustrated by the outcome, challenged Wilt to a rematch. Wilt obliged, and he beat him in a foot race a second time. Wilt was also freakishly strong, and actually had Arnold Schwarzenegger's seal of approval.
We've seen this, bro. I mean, we know, we get it, bro. He's built strong, whatever you want to call him, bro.
Wilt and Arnold
He's a beast.
Constantly hit the gym together.
He's a beast,
and what
bro.
Arnold explained was that Wilt would come into the gym and kill it in the weight room to such an extent that all of the weightlifting his bodybuilding peers were doing looked like child's play compared to Wilt.
That's true. He was a beast.
He could bench press up to 550 pounds.
Oh, I remember that. 500 pounds. You guys don't understand how much that is.
Wilt was also the gold standard of stamina. In the 1962 season, Wilt averaged 48.5 minutes per game.
Looks like my 2K character.
That's more minutes than there are in a complete game. That was possible because of the overtime games that Wilt played that year. The only instance where Wilt took a rest during that season was a game where he had been ejected by the referee. Other than that single instance, Wilt Chamberlain played the entire NBA season without needing a single rest. So in summary, Wilt was huge, he was the baddest, He was the fastest.
Dang! You played the entire
he never
season?
stopped. He was essentially
insane.
a giant NBA 2K character with all the sliders.
I just said he was like my build.
He had
Oh
the
my, I'm
physical
calling it. I'm
prowess
calling
and
the shots around here
abilities to
now.
dominate even today's game. When you put all of that together and drop that player into the 1960s, well, it's no wonder he averaged 50 points and 25 rebounds
facts,
for a
bro.
season. Despite all of his astonishing God-given ability, people still try to diminish his legacy and act as if Wilt's success was more because of the era he played in than because of his abilities.
Yeah.
One of the biggest narratives that people will point to was that Wilt Chamberlain played against a bunch of smaller 6'3" white guys in his era, and
Bro,
that's
he's really
why
getting
he
guarded
dominated.
by it.
Let
Bro.
me be clear here. This narrative is an ignorant and contagious myth. It's a complete and utter lie, and honestly should be seen as offensive to anyone who witnessed Wilt Chamberlain in his prime and has proper respect for what the man was capable of.
Hold up, though. You're telling me that?
The season
And then you're
Wilt
showing a bunch
averaged
of
50
6'4" white
points,
guys!
there were 9
There's one
teams
right
in the
there.
league, and every
Let's see.
team in
There's
the
one back
NBA,
there.
with
There's
the
one right
exception
there.
of
There's one right there.
had at least a 6
There's one right there. There's one right there.
To defend Wilt
There's one right
Chamberlain.
there.
The Packers had a 6'11"
Like,
Walt Bellinger.
There were other
Celtics
players,
had a
like,
6'10" Bill
what I
Russell.
mean by
The
that is, like,
Nationals had
there's two right there.
7'3" Swade
What I mean by that is, like,
Knicks had a 6'10" Phil Jordan.
he's
and
not,
a 6'10"
he
Darryl
played
Hoff.
against insane
Lakers
like, he
had a
played against some good
6'11" Ray
competition, don't
Felix.
get me wrong.
Royals had a 6'10"
But yes, some of the people that he played were 6'3" white guys, like, right there, bro. Some of the people that he played were not.
To such an extent
There's one right
that they looked
there.
like
Like,
children up against Wilt.
it's not an
Not
utter
because of their size,
like,
but because Wilt
it's a
Chamberlain
fact.
was a beast.
He did play
To
against
put
good
this in an
competition,
even
but
greater
there was
perspective,
a lot
the
of people
average
like
height
that.
of the NBA
6'3",
player in
whatever you
today's
want to
game
call them.
this 2019 season
There was a lot of people like
is
that.
6'7" tall. The average height of the NBA player in Wilt's playing days was 6'6" tall. 1 inch is the difference between the average NBA player today and the average NBA player in Wilt's era. Yet the cancerous NBA casual community will have you believing that Wilt Chamberlain did his damage because he played against a bunch of white Kevin Harts. Now listen, I'm not saying that the game hasn't evolved, or that the general athlete isn't greater than the general athlete of years past, to a certain extent. Of course, I believe that definitely to be true. That athletes have evolved. But I think it's absolutely hilarious when people try to use this narrative against legends of years past. If anything, we should be completely awestruck by Wilt Chamberlain's athletic stature coming from a man who played in the 60s. Here's an example of what I mean.
Alright. He was
It's been
good.
well documented, and we're all pretty well aware, that LeBron James takes good care of himself. It's been reported that LeBron spends $1.5 million a year on his body. He uses modern-day training, supplements, and programs, and takes full advantage of them, as he should. Many players in the modern NBA take advantage of modern technology to enhance their athletic abilities. Wilt Chamberlain was an athletic freak who was essentially an overpowered NBA 2K player, despite the fact that he played in the 60s. Now imagine taking a young Wilt Chamberlain and placing him in today's modern era, where he was allowed to spend $1.5 million a year on his body and use to his advantage all of the modern training, programs, and supplements.
You'd definitely be a lot better.
What kind of freak of an athlete will we be talking about then in Wilt Chamberlain? This is why it blows my mind when people try to use the evolving athlete narrative against Wilt Chamberlain instead of for Wilt Chamberlain. So not only was Wilt incredible and played against other big men in his era, but he also had to fight through lots of abuse and would regularly take a beating each game, similar to the beating Shaquille O'Neal had to endure during his playing days. During Wilt's rookie season, he actually shocked many Warriors fans by publicly flirting with the idea of retirement. He was tired of constantly facing double and triple teams and absorbing all the hard fouls the opponents were inflicting upon him.
I mean,
Tommy Heinsohn,
I would be too. Imagine getting triple teamed all game.
The Celtics and an opponent of Chamberlain put it this way: half of the fouls against Wilt were hard fouls. He took the most brutal pounding of any player ever.
Dang, that's tough.
At this point, we've established Wilt's records, his physical prowess, and his dominance over a legitimate era of basketball. But what about his accolades? Well, he was the Rookie of the Year, he was also the MVP his rookie year, he was the MVP of the league a total of 4 times, He has 7 scoring titles, which were all consecutive, and he led the league in assists. Dang. And he's a 2-time champion and a Finals MVP.
He is good. He is good. Don't get me wrong. Like, he's good beast, bro.
Were not calculated in Wilt's prime, but if they had been, he surely would have had more defensive accolades to add to his total. For example,
for sure.
Wilt was the ultimate rim protector.
He had Hall of Fame rim protector on.
Wilt once had a game against the Detroit Pistons where he blocked 26 shots.
Dang!
If that's a little too difficult for you to believe, then you will have to accept 23 blocks as a career high for Wilt, because he blocked 23 shots on a nationally televised game on Christmas Day in 1968.
I need to watch that game. Jeez, that sounds fun to watch.
Phoenix Suns. This makes Wilt Chamberlain comfortably the unofficial record holder for most block shots in a single game. Honestly, it makes sense that Wilt would be capable of such numbers. Everyone is geeking out about the young Zion Williamson's incredible lifting ability and this block he made several nights ago. Okay, now I want you to keep
Dang! Get that out here. Said Zion.
Add 6 inches to his height and 10 inches to his wingspan.
Dang!
And what you have is the...
I cannot control the ashes. Check out my TikTok, check out my other channel, you know what I'm saying? Check it out, check it out, check it out. The YTG Gober, you know what I'm saying? Check it out. Subscribe to this channel, subscribe to the other channel, which will be linked in the description down below. Yes, sir.
Abilities of Wilt Chamberlain as a shot blocker. Wilt has the MVPs, records, accolades, and abilities, but still some discredit him for the fact that he only won 2 championships, especially when Bill Russell played in the same era as Wilt and won 11 championships.
Yeah.
My response to this would be with a question. Is Kevin Durant a greater player on the all-time list than LeBron James?
No.
Even if Kevin Durant wins the next several championships and finishes with more rings than LeBron, just about everyone will still consider LeBron higher on the all-time list.
Well, LeBron... What?
The reason for this is obvious.
That makes sense, bro.
Kevin Durant's on a stacked team with future Hall of Famers. LeBron is not. Unless you're just a LeBron hater, nobody really holds it against LeBron for not being able to beat this Golden State Warriors super team the last couple of years.
And he did, though.
So. It was really the same situation between Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell talent-wise. Wilt's team in Philadelphia and in San Francisco were nowhere close to the overall talent of Bill Russell's Boston Celtics.
Oh, yeah.
Russell had guys like John Havlicek, Tom Heinsohn, Sam Jones, Bob Cousy, and Bailey Howell. These were all guys who ended up in the Hall of Fame and were each capable of carrying the Celtics on any given night.
That's true.
Although Wilt had
Bill did have some good...
It was never nearly to the extent that Russell had. Not only that, but this was...
That team would be dogged by the Lakers today.
A generation of no free agency. Meaning that really the
dogged. 7-game series, no chance of them winning. Dogged on, bro.
And when your team is stacked and dominating, why would you trade anyone anyway? Meaning that Russell's teams were stacked like the modern day Warriors.
Andre Iguodala's hair, bro.
And Wilt's teams were like last year's Cavaliers and
yeah, I mean, LeBron did kind of pull that championship.
When you look at it that way, you can begin to see how Wilt could have been the better player, even if Russell's teams were the ones that were always winning.
Bang.
By the time Chamberlain finally joined the Lakers and had greater players around him, he was 32 years old and was only averaging 20 points per game.
That's true.
If Chamberlain had been on the Lakers earlier in his career, the amount of championships for Russell and Chamberlain would likely have been much different. With all of that being said, Wilt Chamberlain still dominated everyone, including Bill Russell, when it came down to the individual matchups.
He did.
Even
body Bill Russell.
Record 55
I mean, I think that the Celtics like back in the day would have been good against. I mean, I think
before I wrap this video up,
I don't know.
I have a good.
They could definitely like Bill Russell and Wilt could definitely hang with today's era for sure. Like they could definitely do that for sure. Like they're good, or like they're both insane. Like Wilt is.
His dad is almost 70 years old.
He would probably be the best in the league right now.
Almost his entire life. Growing up, he watched all the greats play from the
But
60s,
if we're talking about the
70s,
GOAT conversation, I would not
loved
put him
the
at the
NBA
best
today.
of all time. Because he can't. I haven't seen him shoot a 3.
Until Magic Johnson and Larry Bird arrived in the 80s. So
I wouldn't call him the GOAT. Is he a good player?
extremely
Yes, he's an insane
Because
player.
not only do you have to be old enough to have
Don't know about
seen
the GOAT.
those eras, but you also have to have.
And that's just my personal opinion.
Before it rose to
Like
high
I grew
levels
up in
of
a completely
popularity.
different era.
My friends,
Like I wasn't watching him. That's why like I mean, I
We
grew
were
up with.
having some drinks, just chilling.
I've been
when the
watching people like
conversation of the
LeBron
GOAT
play. I haven't
Us
even
young
watched
guys
a game
shared
of
some
Wilt play.
opinions,
So
but then my buddy's
it
dad
could have been
said
different.
Wilt
Like
Chamberlain
if you
was the
lived in that
greatest.
era and you saw Wilt play,
I
you might be
said,
like,
really? You've
he's
got
the
him
GOAT.
over MJ?
But I didn't. So
And
that's
then
my
he looked
personal
at me
opinion.
straight in the eyes.
I think
and
MJ's
said,
the GOAT though.
Johnny, I've seen Jordan, LeBron, Wilt. I've seen all of these guys with my own 2 eyes. Wilt Chamberlain is easily the greatest player of all time. Now, I'm not telling you that you should believe that Wilt is the GOAT just because some random person I know says so, but his comments did make me think. Are we too quick to rule out generations past? Is our own personal nostalgia or recency
Dang.
bias so strong
Block. Oh, he
that we
almost snatch
can't
blocked
even
that.
truly consider the greats who came before us? Listen,
Dang, imagine if
a
he
man
grabbed that.
averaged 50 points and 25 rebounds in today's day, the sports world would be losing their minds.
That's true.
We've become so accustomed to the numbers that Wilt
He'd be
put
all
up
over Sports
that we
Center.
tend to sweep
Overtime,
Wilt's accomplishments under the rug,
ESPN.
like it doesn't
He'd be
mean anything,
all over
or
that,
like
bro.
it didn't even happen.
He'd be all over that.
It's
Oh,
so
there's
long
a jumper.
ago, and
Okay,
most of us
Will.
didn't actually see it.
Fade.
so it doesn't
Okay,
resonate
Will.
with us.
I see you.
But the reality is, a man scored 100 points in a single game by himself against other pro basketball players, and actual people witnessed it and were amazed by it. A man averaged 50 points for a season and 30
He
points
is
as a
insane,
rookie.
bro. He
There
can
was a
shoot
man
too,
who
apparently.
dominated his opponents statistically more than any other player in NBA history, and it's not even close. When it comes to comparing the greats and their level of production in their prime, Wilt Chamberlain has no rival. This is why Wilt Chamberlain is the greatest player of all time. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Alright, what y'all think about that? Personally, I don't know. Kind of agree with it, kind of don't. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's a GOAT, though. He's a good player. He's an insane player. I don't think I can't say GOAT, yeah. I mean, and I've seen a lot of his videos and stuff, and all these videos. Let me know what y'all think. Let me know what y'all want me to react to. Put it in the comment section down below. And thank you for tuning in.